And you can tell, you know, from that interview there, it's great to hear from the man himself, obviously, that emotion, the tenseness is felt behind the team as well as on the stage as well. I love that it's come down to the distance here between these two teams in this matchup particularly.
No surprises thus far, realistically. Jace, Azir, Gwen, everyone's saying these are never going to make it through the draft, but there are some picks that I'm curious about. Like, when we look across at other regions, we've seen things like the Annie rising up as a champion that you can play in the mid lane, something that Myrwn has also played in that top side, something that could be flexed around on the MKOI. And also looking at things like Ashe, still a very strong AD carry. We talked about the Caitlyn that could potentially come through as well. There is still a huge amount of combos and threats, and even things like a Kennen in the top side that can still come through.
Lulu. I thought that Lulu was going to be a kingmaker, so I'm quite not willing to lock that in first, because if you're going towards what I assume to be more enchanters in bot lane, Lulu empowering a Jinx or a Zeri, which is currently unbanned, that is absolutely terrifying. I actually wonder whether it's the last banned Zeri. I feel like Zeri's the most powerful champion between these two AD carries.
Right. I mean, on Death still talking about the fact that the engaged supports as well and pairings with something like a Zeri are quite limited here, so we go towards enchanters. Now limited with things like Renata Milio maybe coming up.
I still think it's the jungle that I'm high priority on. The thing is, if you go towards something like a Zyra, I was going to say, with the Zyra, you end up opening up for something like a Mundo on the opposite side. I think for KC, though, flexing into something like an Ivern could actually be really good here. Open up an AD mid in that mid lane for a Vladi that he can try and bully this Ryze. Could work out really well. Wukong still up and available though as well, which has kind of been one that we were expecting to come through.
Did briefly see a Zed over there, and I was actually wondering for MKOI, look, when you have a Ryze mid lane, you want to set up for something like a Wukong, which is locked in for Yike now, which of course is one of our best early game skirmishing champions when before game 4 actually, something that Finn highlighted in the draft.
Shame that Orianna's gone here, because with Wukong would have been a nice pairing. Banned away by KC. Do we get a mid lane match here? Do we go priority AD carry? I know you're talking about Caitlyn before, Dagda. I'm going to start wriggling off champions. 3 seconds to lock in here. Waiting for it. No.
Oh, okay.
Zoe.
Zoe got some big changes earlier this season. Her Q splash damage no longer falls off, which means she actually gets some really strong wave clear very, very early on. We've seen precious little of this champion. I think it was Showmaker that played a game of it over in the LCK, but don't quote me on that one. Zoe has had some pretty good quality of life buffs. Still, very rarely seen for a reason. If she can't stand to be an artillery bot, fire bubbles through a wall, can struggle.
I think though you're setting, I was going to say you're setting up for a position where you could take something like a Jinx and then try and play for this super long range, because there's very little left in the pool that can actually contest the Jinx. Again, Caitlyn kind of something that could, at least from a range advantage, but Braum taken, Poppy taken. It's a very defensive composition thus far from MKOI, basically saying, hey KC, you kind of want to jump into us with the Wukong, but honestly, I was going to say, I think at this stage, you just play for artillery range from KC. Jhin, great answer as well. And you almost use the Wukong as a defensive line, using that Cyclone to buy space for the battle.
MKOI need a way to either not care about the range and instead use like the Ryze one more to go towards side lane, something like that, or close the gap very, very effectively. Zoe's good at firing from range, very, very bad at protecting you if you have a way to ping her on the way back to her return portal.
Terrible at killing tanks. Jhin, terrible at killing tanks. Ornn, pretty damn strong, and KC very quickly realizing we suck at killing tanks. So I think it'll be an Ornn ban as well, because I think the Braum take sets up so well for the Ornn in the early stages here, and even taking the Bard away as well. I think it's just like these compositions that can try and interrupt you as to close the gap. So Ornn, I think, should be the last ban here. Otherwise, I think Canna, if he's comfortable with play it should be the immediate take.
I think on the other side for the AD carry for MKOI, I'm actually wondering if Sivir looks pretty good here. One of the better things against something like a Zoe is the Ashe would have also been you need something to be able to just really force this Zoe from not feeling comfortable standing still. Sivir can run at you, Ashe can throw the arrow at you. You need something to force the fight, and I really feel like a Sivir could help you get that Ryze into range, get that Poppy into range as well.
Ditto, going to be the last ban. So if I'm Canna, I'm looking at either the Kennen or I'm looking at the Ornn. I think the Kennen can work in this sort of situation because you've got the Wukong to initially set you up for it, and then you can try and follow through. And then looking at an Ornn to just be that big setup, but obviously with the Braum on that side, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So I am curious what they want to do. It looks like it will be the support answer here.
If this gets locked in for the Jhin, I mean, I understand the logic.
They've played it before. Pyke! Okay, Target. That is... if you mess up in the early levels now, in Supa and Alvaro, things go to hell very, very quickly. Tristana potentially on the table as well. We did call out the Civ here. Tristana can buffer out of the bone skewer. You let it hit you and then you press the W just before it hits. You're pretty good with that. And Tristana can jump on the Jhin and the Zoe. It's another way to force the issue.
Okay, so it's going to be the Tristana. The only thing is, generally when I want Tristana on the bot side, it is with something like a Pyke. Something that can play very aggressive. You can try and bully through the 2v2. Now, you can definitely follow up if you ever land the Winter's Pipe from Braum, but definitely not the hyper-aggressive bot lane. But into the Jhin, maybe it's not the end of the world. But here comes the Ornn.
You were talking about it, Dagda. I love you. Like, there it is, obviously. And again, you said they suck at killing tanks. Do you remedy that? How do you fix that? What do you have in a soul? And like, Yorick time? Is it volley bear time? Like, what do we do here?
Yorick's not at all, Fletzer, if you want to kill some tanks. I love the Aatrox here, though. I really like that. Allows you to kind of play towards winning against that Ornn. But as opposed to something like the Yorick, I feel like your team fight value is better. You can handle the flanks
It's just, I don't like the Aatrox into Braum, into Ryze, into things that can just lock you down and just make it a miserable experience, right? So it's kind of a good for lane, good for comp, though? I'm not entirely sure. Like, this is the opposite of it nearly feels like game number 4, where it's MKOI that have really solidified this strong draft with great CC tools, good engage, good defensive tools, great DPS, whereas KC, I can kind of see the idea, but a huge amount of this relies on Yike getting great engages with the Wukong, which can be kind of tough against MKOI's comp.
And I tell you what, these better be some damn good bubbles and damn good panel stars. If you're going to pick a Zoe like this into now a team which can realm warp onto you out of position, to Ornn onto your return pad as well. Vladi, you picked a Zoe, which is not picked very often. It can be very easily abused here by Movistar KOI.
But it's just the unbreakable value from Braum is sky high. Those Palo Stars into the shield, the Jhin shots into the shield, and then in case he managed to slip through one, Ornn just kind of body blocks and says, "Get down, Mr. President." So it feels like so much of MKOI's comp deals so well with what KC have.
It is a bizarre game. It is a bizarre series to end out. I'm glad we've rounded out here. Seeing a Zoe from Vladi after his day of the Zeus, or rather, sorry, Zeka-like champions hasn't been stellar. Will he be able to show up big on the Zoe here? Our concerns about the comp been rounded out. Our game 5 laid down to bed. Winner goes to G2 tomorrow for a spot at MSI.
If KC don't win this game by 15 minutes, it is done for. Pyke needs to snowball. Zoe needs to snowball.
Oh, yeah.
You need a ton of pressure in this game if you're going to hope to try and win this out whatsoever. And unfortunately for you, Wukong is not exactly a champion that does amazing pre-6. So there is a slim window for KC to try and take over this game, and they need to take full advantage of it.
And on the side of MKOI as well, I mean, you have what I like to call the full build Poppy. You hit level 3, you have a red buff. You need nothing else in life. That can be absolutely what MKOI can use to diffuse some of these early plays from the Pyke. The Braum, also incredible in those early levels as well, if you can make good use of the passive. Do need to see jungle tracking be good from MKOI. Need to see them make sure that Yike and Targamas don't somehow, even with the Wukong not always able to influence early, at least track where he's going to make sure they diffuse those early plays.
Like Targamas engages last game on the Gragas. We're going to have to like him again. So well put. KC just throwing the biggest spanner into the works. Now, we haven't seen Zoe for a while. The quickest note I'll add is that, again, if you haven't, it feels weird talking like this. If you haven't seen Zoe since you've entered League of Legends, big range, control bubbles on obstacles are great.
Oh, so probably like Chad is bad. Yeah. Just to...
yeah. She's 300
Zoe,
years
man.
old.
I hope Zoe wins. I'm a Zoe mate.
Oh yeah, those were the days. Been like 5 years, I think, since Zoe's been mega meta.
Yeah.
Back when I remember like 28. Yeah, that's right.
It really was 2022, and the advent of Wukong Vi coming through into the pro meta, which really stopped Zoe being able to stand, play poke, and get infinite value out of these kind of delayed fights. Now, Zoe still does have value if you can get to that situation. It's just so hard to do that against really big engaged champions so across the meta. In this game, I mean, we don't have the Vi and stuff. Fearless Draft opens up those angles, but you still got the Ornn all the same.
Yeah, I think it's just... the problem with Zoe is that because you need to hit things from afar, like the further away she is, the more damage you do. you need to be the ones in control of the game.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just not getting the value because you're hitting people at melee range and doing 0 damage. So a huge amount of KC revolves around them having the space to open up with this composition. The same when it comes towards the curtain call too. So Targamas already trying to get some hooks down is kind of what you need. It's Targamas roaming around, finding maybe kills in towards mid, working with Yike to try and make plays happen on the bottom side. If that can be the case, you're in a much better spot, but it's still a bit of a difficult ask when it's just all on basically this jungle and support from KC.
Go back a couple of years ago, before MKOI and KC joined the league, though. It's fantastic to see that they've come in thinking, okay, well, you know, these teams got a load of hype around them. Let's see if they've got what it takes to actually make it in the LEC. We've got 2 of them in our top 4, one of them being a champion and the other one reaching finals before. It's really good to see both these teams backing up the promise they had when they came into our league and giving us such entertaining series like this.
Again, it's a new rivalry, and a lot of people have talked about it. You know, like, there's obviously a bigger fan base with the Spanish fans and the French fans, a lot of them that are here today in the studio, but it is nice. You know, it brings a breath of fresh air into the league, because, again, it was like G2 Fnatic fans, and then some organizations fell off a bit. And it is, again, nice when you consider that for League of Legends in its later years, like, having these fan bases really drive the energy into such expanding player base. You know what I'm trying to say? It's been 5 games. The brain's just not there. These are bloody good players, and it's nice to see that, you know, there's fan base behind them. Just driving the force of League is a good trade here. I
think it's also incredible to see the newer players coming in and getting their chances at internationals. Well, obviously, everyone's going to look at KC for first time, but even MKOI, when we look at Worlds last year, getting their chance to kind of go and show up and learn from that experience. And we heard like Supa and Alvaro on Euphoria talking about what that experience meant to them over the course of last year. KC in a similar spot now. It feels like this is really the new blood and the new names that are going to be etched into trophies in years to come. It's just going to be a case of, can this series set these players up now to be in a position where they're already on the doorstep of going to MSI?
Seeing our bot lanes change their lane allocation, Supa going towards that top side. Importantly, what that means is that you don't get to sit as Jhin, Pyke, just throwing skewers at them, but it does mean that Targamas can potentially go for plays like this.
Really good block, though, from Alvaro. Gets in front of the bone. Skewer after the Sleepy Trouble Bubble connects. Saves his mid lane as we swap lanes once again. Myrwn just gets traded for a bit, but you gotta give credit to the support. Alvaro is back at it again.
And that's exactly what he needs to do. Just make sure that things don't explode on the map. Dagda really framed it well. If this game is not out of control by 15 minutes, KC have got a huge issue. The fact that Targamas goes mid lane, Char goes onto the slept target, that could have been an issue. Alvaro's there to match, and that's what he needs to do.
All they're going to do is continue to move around as MKOI. Supa has decent push and already a decent CS lead as well, thanks to some of the movement that they've had and being able to control that bot side. So it just means that if this game can continue at this pace, you're okay. But Canna is having a bit of a...
Time for a bit, he's gone too far! In comes Elyoya! That's the anti-dive you need from KOI.
And that is the early game which MKOI have really needed. Neutralize the Pyke, get the Poppy on the board. Elyoya strikes first in an all-important game 5.
Because Canna was destroying Myrwn with a 20 CS lead in that bottom side already. Every time we seemed to flick to that lane, it was Canna getting the better of the trade, but now evening that out just a smidge. Still a nearly 300 gold lead for Canna, so I don't think Canna's going to let up anytime soon, but at least getting some control back as Yike will get the dragon.
Greed for the trade, greed with the ulti. The fact that Canna's punished it, as you said, we come back to it again. Anything that stymies KC in this early game is a huge win for KOI, as Dragon is being taken by KC regardless, but Elyoya now setting up the top with the lane swap, now looking towards a minute 10 for the Grubs. They may clap, but do they know? They must listen to us.
Movement from Elyoya towards his top side, but I don't really know if you can get a huge amount done. Looks like it's just going to be an attempt to rep up steal.
Deadly Flourish, little hop jump from Supa, Q1. The Targamas' bone skewers haven't really amounted to much so far, and Caliste damage obviously not going to do the same.
And the thing is, you need to get enough of these bone skewers in a row to make sure it's not on Guardian timing. You need to get through the heal and the flashes and stuff. Realistically, Pyke needs to be hitting so many hooks in the early levels in a game like this to make sure those summoners aren't there to defend against the plays which you make just afterwards. That's not been the case so far. And again, that time bomb, that time limit on the game, KC at 15 minutes, it does draw closer.
Yike hitting level 6 though now means that he can be a little bit more active on the map though and actually impact these lanes. So I think this is where my eyes are going to drift towards Yike to see, hey, can he get use out of that ultimate to get some of the gold that they need. Also, Jojo, just roll me down to the bottom side to put a little bit of pressure on towards Canna, make sure he's not able to continue tearing through Myrwn in the manner he has.
Grubs spawning. Of course, for the side of KC, they managed to grab them, allow that to get the Aatrox into a winning position. Could be very, very powerful. Start lands. Yeah, that's going to hurt more and more as the game goes on.
I miss Zoe. I miss Zoe hitting from like half a screen away. Trouble bubble. Vladi really nicely done. It's bedtime for Elyoya with the bone skewer as well, and Halo Blade. A free kill over to Yike. Vladi smurfed that sleep.
Level 6 hit, and Yike doesn't even have to use it, but this is the activity that we wanted to see. Vladi and Yike working together now that they have access to their full toolkit, and even Targamas, great roam there just to set up the play.
The awesome from Vladi, we said, hey, these have got to be good bubbles, got to be good paddle slots. Find someone at the right moment, gets to use the terrain of that. Vladi getting another, he's got the protoball on this.
And he uses it onto Jojo, cleanses out, but he's stuck under turret. The ramp won't be enough. Vladi survives for now. Jojo is backing up against the wall, and you're right. I see a bone skewer. I see Jojo's life flash before his eyes.
I did see a potential for a flash ignite as well, and I wasn't too sure what was going to be the case, but Alvaro just going to interrupt the reset as Yike will finish off the boy grubs. But again, pressure from the mid-jungle support. KC starting to come alive.
Also, triple grubs. I will say, Zoe's not a bad turret pusher with, you know, the spell thief's passive and obviously the auto you get after using a spell as well. And especially with the gun belt now picked up, also known as Ludens. It's just a gun, all right? It's the item that Yuumi gets to get Yuumi with a gun. But the main thing is Vladi has it now, and that burst is going to be ripe.
Yeah, and I think particularly for the Aatrox, he's gone for the grass build, who is hyper indexing into that 1v1. That slow burn out is going to be really nasty. The door definitely helps you shrug off some of that damage, and that will be, of course, very important later into the game. But yes, 3 grubs, good prize there for KC. And again, something in their pocket from the early game, which we've tasked them to get a good league from.
I think it's just been the fact that Vladi has controlled so much of this mid lane that he's going to just make things a little bit easier. Next Dragon in a minute 40, which is where I think you're kind of seeing KC now starting to set up a good chunk of vision control on this bottom side, because they want to try and lean with push from mid for Targamas to roam, try and play around Vladi again on this bottom side, because Canna's winning completely solo.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't interact with top side, Canna's going to win. So all the focus can start to turn towards Vladi, and, you know, a flash bubble or even the portal into a flash, into a bubble is always an option for Vladi as well, just to try and set up Yike or Targamas for getting to that bot lane.
Mid lane shove, largely even so far. Zoe's gone into a sideline. This is one of the other reasons why Zoe started to fall off a little bit, is that macro changed, particularly from about 2020-21 to 22, where bot lanes went mid lane at a certain point. Before that, we used to see a lot more mages just kind of stick around in mid lane. Zoe in a side lane is much more vulnerable than in a mid lane.
Well, God, Myrwn's got help here. Elyoya's coming in with an ulti too, but Canna's pulled out. That's the biggest part, and Myrwn getting a bit of attention. Again, for the game state, happy if you're a KOI fan to see him delayed and survive the 1v1.
I think Myrwn just wanted a chance to use the Ignite he picked up from the spell. Again, now's the time to do it. Yeah, I really just want to light someone on fire. That sounds like a fun way to spend my game 5.
Targamas is in this top side though, and Myrwn's overextended.
Let's see if he can get out of it, but he's stunned up. The Ghostwater dive was beautiful. The Fan Munto laid in as well. Dunked down. I mean, Canna's in a bit of trouble. There's Ignite. Almost survives it. Targamas marks the spot. Alvaro now, he can't get out because the troll bubble's on the ground. He's got a realm mob to help him out. Jojo survives his support. He looks for the next engage as Yike spins around a bit, but KC won't find the retreat or rather the kill. Myrwn the only death in the end. Whew.
It's a little chaotic though, but Canna having that help from Targamas on the top side means he gets the kill, he gets the push in the wave, extending his lead. Bottom side, Alvaro barely managing to escape, but big tools used by KC. The fact that Yike now has no ultimate makes it a little bit more difficult for them to try and go for a dragon, and Elyoya knows it. He's going to start that one up himself. Jojo going to TP down to support him, so the objective going the way of MKOI.
Yeah, again, just another worrying sign from this early game. Canna getting a little bit more of that lead. Vladi landing more skill shots. The dragon is going to go. Hang on a second. Are we going to get a full contest? No, it's just Targamas. I saw that thing around it. I didn't quite check the minimap before that. So what you should always do in these kind of plays. But good signs from KC in this early game, giving something to worry about for MKOI.
I will say, for KOI getting the dragon though, stopping the stacking, stopping the, you know, ramp up the KC obviously want to play towards. Always a good sign. But I just, you know, this is why Fearless, Trump. If you want an example of why Fearless is better than normal League of Legends, this game's a great example. Like, only top teams would really try this out. Like, this is just such a ball of comp.
Yeah, I think, like...
I'm still bewildered, you know.
I do think it's... The thing that's been fascinating to me about this is we've had to highlight how much this KC comp kind of relies on Vladi and Targamas and Yike working together. Vladi, for someone who hasn't brought a Zoe, is clearly very proficient with the champion.
So far,
he's been cracking a lot of those the bubbles onto people. He's also been hitting several of the paddle stars onto people as they move around. So I think it does make it a little bit more worried for MKOI when you're like, oh, this guy knows this champ.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started casting Vladi, he was 16 in 2022. My dude, he's not been around in Pro long enough to really see the golden era of Zoe.
16 and 22 is a terrible KDA.
God, man.
It was not like you, Dagda. Like, normally your jokes are sweet.
this is actually Fearless casting. We actually can't use the same line more than once in a series.
That's bad for my casting, because man, I've been doing that every game.
That's a new word.
Well, definitely don't feel like the faker of casting anymore. Long since past that, haven't we? It's been 5 hours.
Even faker has a slump sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Not this game. This is the game 5, and you know, with 1k gold lead, Alvaro gets pulled in. That's good damage, actually, because he's got himself a serrated dirt. Caliste can't get the 4th shot off, and 45 seconds until Herald spawns. That'll be my next thought, because I'm looking at what's up and available. KOI, do they just let this go because of how strong KC are? Is my other question, I guess.
Yeah, I think the MKOI side of things kind of want to try and limit what KC are able to achieve, but it makes it very difficult when you're not able to keep control of River, because the trio of KC is just so strong. Elyoya going to be spotted here as they're now just trying to make the cross map play, but...
Get dunked a bit. Good damage here. Spirit
here.
Sjojopyun first. Targamas going to help out, but Alvaro, he went in first, and now that he's jumped in, now they're all spotted. KC playing it slow as they can. Meanwhile, topside, Cleanse actually used by Myrwn with the unsealed spellbook. As we see in the picture-in-picture, while this Zoe keeps hitting hard. Jojo backs away while Targamas goes into Ghost Water Dive, and Herald is spawning topside, but the action seems to be bottom.
So these support movements are getting increasingly more spooky, really. Someone turns up and the other player doesn't respond in time, so you can explode that. Alvaro and Targamas there on similar timing, though, so it diffuses. Herald going to get started up from KC, and KOI choosing to play on as many waves as possible right now. They don't want to give up too much. Right here, they're giving up this top lane tower just a little bit. Sad for them. Jojo caught out.
Well, there's an ulti burn. Jojo, will he get knocked off? Flashes! Nicely done! He flashed behind the Demon King, and Jojo escapes.
And I think this is kind of becoming the crux of the problem here for MKOI. We're saying, look, by 15 minutes, they have to be hard winning. Well, it's not a massive lead.
Yeah, it's not.
But so much of it being focused on Canna, the fact that he's just able to destroy in that 1v1 is causing issues, because it's opening up then the rest of KC to find success elsewhere on the map. But it doesn't really get any easier. Like, Vladi also nearly 600 gold up in that sideline as well. Like, KC have some key carries in positions that he can do some real damage.
And how often have KC relied on Canna massively performing to see them through to victories? This guy's been excellent. This guy's been so exciting to watch here on KC, and much like the games like the Ambassador he had earlier in the series, when he gets himself an individual lead, he really knows how to leverage it.
It's been fun seeing Myrwn step to his level today, but I agree. You know, Canna's definitely been a selling point, and KC in some of those key games, it felt like his Ambassador game that you used, Nymaera, was a great example of how hard he could carry into those
It's great that it hasn't just been complete top diff, because Myrwn has actually given a lot for MKOI to play around.
The game was insane.
Yeah, but then Canna and a couple of the others, shows us exactly why we respect him so much.
I do think, though, Myrwn might be in a lot of trouble on the bottom side. I see 4 members of KC starting to move down there. And yeah, I think he just has to completely give up the Ghost. So that's going to be top lane tower down, bot lane tower down, and now a Rift Herald for that mid lane structure as well. And you can just see it's the solo lanes, the side lanes that are really struggling for MKOI, and they just don't really have an answer. And now Dragon in 20 seconds, maybe they can try and force a fight there, but KC might just see this.
Deadly Flourish dodged away from by Alvaro. The door's up nice and early here at half HP, though they can't get Supa nearby to start hitting away at the turret. Dragon, as you mentioned, with that 10-second timer, KC the ones who have to walk into the river, but I see Vladi at level 12 here with half a mana bar. I see some angles that he can start playing through as Herald comes into pressure.
Exactly, just taking that bot lane out of turret gives him a couple more angles potentially to play around for bubbles around the Dragon. KC instead trying to use the Herald as a bit of a counterweight, get that charge onto mid lane if it's all possible.
Sleepy Myrwn. He's going to use Bellow's Breath to get out of that one, but on a ward for now. They see the angle while Herald just let to charge. Dragon started off on KOI. They want to delay the game as much as possible. This is the way to do it with Deadly Flourish. The game 5 team fight of all. Over the wall, Targamas brings in Alvaro. He flashes to the Phantom Undertow, but it won't do a damn thing. Supa jumps on his head. The curtain call layered down for all 5 members of Canna in a flanking angle, but he's found out first. He's getting taken through and through. Supa gets a double with Yike running away. It's the ulti from Jojo to corner them. KOI played that so damn well.
Supa goes Super Saiyan and jumps onto multiple targets in the fight. The ability to reposition on the Tristana really tore apart the multiple flanking angles from Karmine Corp.
MKOI bought their time. They played it slow. They didn't give anything over to KC that couldn't been taken back.
Caliste, we're back in Supa's territory. Jumps in again and then back out. Now that he's got to reset, Caliste with a 4-shot. Teleport being brought in and KOI are starting to feel it. They got the jazz hands going as KC get reeled back in. I'm looking at Elyoya. Stops there. Deadly Flourish. Paddle Star. But no portal jump. It ends there for now, but gold is even. Oh, I should never open my mouth again. Vladi doesn't have the portal jump, and Myrwn is there to cover.
That's all you need, though, is just people to cover. Whenever these trouble bubbles land, just don't let that follow-up come through. And you can see here as the fight kicks off, it ends up a little dicey as Alvaro gets pulled over, but everyone in KC ends up locking up into his ultimate. Targamas gets jumped on by Supa. The ultimate from Myrwn doesn't do what you really want, but it does at least push KC back, which leaves Canna then, who TP'd in completely on his lonesome. Yike tries to go in to help, but again, the realm work from Jojo, the chase down, is just great from MKOI.
I really like how Movistar KOI assess the amount of CC they have to put onto one target in front of them. The fact that, yes, the Braum's caught out, but okay, we got the Braum mark. We can end up stunning someone through that Braum passive, doing the same thing onto Canna afterwards. Really important to shut down those first targets. And now we're heading up towards 20 minutes. The gold lead isn't really there from KC now, and that worry about, well, what happens if we get later into the game with a Pyke and then a lot of people to block out the Zoe bubbles, is that a problem?
It's crucially the lack of control KC have on the map as well. This is you want to be in the tempo lead. You want to be the one that's dictating the play, so you can show up first, you can hit a trouble bubble, you can have Targamas there to find a pick. Not having those tools available because MKOI are the ones dictating how you move on the map makes it 10 times more difficult for KC to try and find the play.
They would absolutely love to get themselves mid lane turret down. If you get that, that's typically a really good litmus test for is Zoe winning a game. If you get mid turret first, you can fire bubbles into the enemy jungle. There's a huge value from that. Of course, KC did use that Herald into it to bring it to low HP. It's not down yet, and now MKOI are holding on to it with all fingers.
They're trying to predict where Yike is maybe now. He's been waiting in this brush and top for so long. He thought Jojo would walk up in the wave. Vladi is now the only one on vision. Yike, I believe, not spotted out. Jojo clears the wave anyway, and KOI will just hold on.
Jojo not walking up any closer to that brush. Spidey says is on point for now. He's still sticking around, though. Now his teammates are gone.
This has been a minute. This has been over a minute in the brush. Jojo walking up now. Yike sees him. Doesn't pull the trigger. Jojo walks back, and I mean, Yike, he's thinking, will he come back in?
You can see on the map, though, MKOI, they've been sitting with Ornn in that bot side jungle as well for about a minute as well. They're unsure. They want to see where Yike is on the map to see if they pull the trigger on Caliste, who's flashless in the mid lane as well. So it's kind of this, you know, who's going to pull the, like, game of chicken, who's just going to pull the trigger and find that pick.
And if nothing happens, MKOI come out ahead from this. Remember, this is the team that wants to not have things explode early into the game. We're getting past that 20 minutes, and they're the ones which get to walk towards mid lane turret a little quicker. Don't think they'll get the full turret, but it's another good chunk onto it.
Won't skewer, Bellow's Breath just in case. Getting close to being dead. Atakan's now spawned. Dragon's up in a minute 30. KOI, the underdogs of today, the 3rd seed. We cannot state this enough, and I know for fans at home, sometimes you just hear narrative, but like, coming into today, we really thought, oh, KC've got everything in the barrel to try and take on G2 and be the first international lock for the LEC. And it sure felt like it coming in as the first seed, an 8-1 finish. KOI came in for underdogs because, again, we were like, well, Jojo's improved, but how much has he improved? Yeah, Supa's been okay. Alvaro's tried to carry the team. Elyoya's been there. This series, I don't feel like I have the same reserves.
But it's even MKOI versus KC overall.
Yeah.
It's the very first game that these two teams faced off against each other when KC joined the league that MKOI won. Ever since then, this matchup has belonged to KC.
Yeah.
But sitting in this position, MKOI have a real chance to try and take that history, throw it in the dumpster, set it on fire, and set what was a lot of those expected results on fire with this.
He's in the depths right now. He gets hit with a bit of frost. Portal start, portal jump, whatever, you know what I mean. It flies through, doesn't connect, but KOI right now really holding this left side wing. That's where Jojo's trying to get topside turret. That would be an equal 2 turrets apiece. And Jojo's going to find it here. He's going to get the push here while KOI really add the pressure towards mid.
Now, the fact that MKOI managed to get this mid lane out of turret, and now they return to those side lanes where KC got those turrets first, is a really good sign for them. And I really want to, again, just praise Alvaro for this early game, diffusing a whole bunch of plays around that Dragonfly. Wow. I think it's been a capstone of what has been a very good series in the support of MKOI.
It's going to be hard to pick MVP if KOI win, but Alvaro is definitely going to be a question as now their first gold lead of this game. Now as well with 2 turrets down, Dragon stands up. Just going to be taken by KC. Well, Canna tries to go in deep pop.
This is where it gets a little funky for MKOI though, because Dragon is now up and available. They aren't really in a position to contest. Caliste is actually going to take that themselves because they invested everything on Jojo to get that top lane turret. So now they kind of missed their window to try and look for a fight. Now there's obviously still Canna up. There's going to be Myrwn in a minute's time, but it is now going to be a couple of minutes where Canna can try and look for that 1v1 pressure on the side. You can also have Targamas start to roam around a little bit more. Like, this is where KC can play through their strengths as there's no objective to play for.
You can flip that onto the other perspective too, where they already have the 2 dragons, so they don't have to force it, because it's not like an early soul from KC as well. It's only the 2nd dragon. But yeah, there's definitely that horse trading going on a little bit, saying, okay, we'll not get this opportunity right now, but at least we stay safe and we can buy a little bit more time to get our items into the game.
The only one with a gold lead as we crest upon 25 minutes is Canna. 1500, still in the matchup.
It's a pretty good one though.
It is nice. But Canna, how much time is he going to be given to his own? How much time is he going to be given in this game?
Well, I mean, the question for me is, how does he want to use his TP? Because I see a ward here, I see a ward here, I see a ward here. There are plenty of opportunities for KC if they can find their plays to have Canna get in behind MKOI, especially as they're trying to gain that vision in the top side. They're trying to limit how much value Vladi can get from the Zoe by being aggressive into the enemy jungle, but I think KC are kind of setting up for some of these decent flank opportunities.
I think from their vision right now, they can just occasionally see KC hover towards that top side. So they know that people are around. Elyoya being able to pop that W and move quite quickly. Braum walking up into the enemy jungle. Moments like this give you just that extra advanced warning, so you can be a little more safe to push up into those side lanes.
The thing is though, as KC try and look to group with Canna, it only benefits MKOI, because the value you get from Alvaro and Ornn in these tight corridors, as KC try to contest vision take from MKOI, is just woeful. So I think for KC, trying to play with Canna down towards the sideline again, even if he's not getting value on the turrets, it's value of drawing Myrwn out of the equation, which may give KC that moment where they can find the bubble or the pick that they need.
We keep cresting for it. We keep waiting for it. Baron is now spawned. That's why everyone's up on the top side of the map. Targamas gets the hook in. Deadly Flourish as well. Good knock up. Canna regrets though and walks away. Doesn't want to fully commit rather as Vladi waits for the portal jump. Gets a paddle star, but onto Jojo. Not enough damage. He's got a lot of HP there. And Vladi just ain't that one big punch that you want.
With the Seraph's Roar, Merc Treads on Ryze, not easy to get the picks from those paddle stars in the way that you want.
Looking for the Searing Charge, won't find it. Portal Star again, going drowsy. Is the support. Canna from a flank, pops his ulti. The fight begins, laying down for Yike, who gets sent into the air and destroyed. Alvaro jumps forward, he gets Portal Star again. He's gone a little bit dizzy, but Myrwn's going to block it with the door up as well. Jojo clearing mid. The fight might just end here. Targamas wants a reset. He wants his X to mark the spot. Jojo, meanwhile, dealing with Canna. He's got a root and he's got a team. Canna flashes away. This Aatrox is Korean, but in this game, he may as well be from EU as he gets stuck in place. Elyoya finishes it, and MKOI are breathing in the fumes of Game 5.
MKOI are making it impossible for KC to find the fights they want. Everyone trying to get access to the backline of MKOI is struck down where they stand, and now it will be Aatrox that will follow.
The damage from Vladi just isn't there on these tankier members at this point. Aatrox now going to be started up. It's 20 seconds until Canna could join the play. I mean, Vladi might flash forward. That's a lot of damage.
The paddle jump comes through all the either way troll bubble land. Alvaro, all the abilities combined, but Aatrox goes down. And KOI in the most meaningful lead in this game 5. This is Pyke.
But watch how this is played. Yike tries to move in and immediately it's Alvaro with the ultimate that clips him. Then you get the knock up, you get the roost that could have followed, but instead he's just shot down. And even here, Jojo moves across to contest, but all of these beefcakes are just standing in the way of anyone who could be in danger of the shots coming through from Caliste. Canna is next to get jumped on as well. This Realm Warp has been so well used by Jojo to chase down the stragglers of KC and just not give them a chance.
40 seconds until Dragon. Now, of course, MKOI gave up the opportunity to get Soul on this occasion by not fighting for the last one to get them their third. 30 seconds. They've got upgraded Ornn items coming in now. Already at this point in the game, upgraded Void Staff coming through for Jojopyun. So that's another factor coming in. KC had a timer on them already.
Targamas pulling him in was dangerous. Vladi as well. Portal jumping in. Just got chunked to half HP. Now it's not working out too well. There's a good little paddle star set up. Jojo bone skew it in. Call the Forge God covers though, and Targamas flashes away. KC keep looking for those picks, but now it feels like the time has passed.
Canna's still on that bottom side as well, so he has an opportunity for a flank. That's so much used by MKOI. Alvaro's ultimate really has to get value here.
Where does Canna come in from? Vladi doesn't get the Sleepy Trouble bubble. Again, all about zone control, but KOI already onto the Dragon. Is going to be done quick.
I think KC are just giving up the ghost set. They're saying, all right, Dragon, we don't want to fight it. Maybe we can even push towards an inhibitor turret. Realm War coming into mid, though.
And again, who does it bring? 3 members flash immediately gone. Vladi gets out over the wall while Alvaro and Jojo chase. You're right, Canna is doing what he can with 3 grubs. He's trying to make this game 5 back into France's favor. Supa jumps in. Yike is isolated. He's surely going to die as Elyoya will be the trade. But Canna still has it in him, and no one's based yet apart from Myrwn.
Myrwn will try to hold off, but both junglers are dead. KC got so much value on that bottom side. They don't quite get the inhibitor.
MKOI really get lost in the source there. I think that he could have just backed up, not hard forced on one side, or maybe just given up an inhibitor turret. Not the whole, well, I guess they don't give up the full inhibitor, so that's better than it could have been at that point. But MKOI feel like they got a little bit hypey. We are in a game 5. It's against a rival that they, of course, value this matchup against very, very much, and for an all-important matchup versus G2 tomorrow for a spot at MSI. And I feel like they got lost in the moment a little bit there.
They needed to find the engages, but KC had gone that a bit too far away. And the thing I was going to say was that fight that we had that led to Adakan for MKOI. We didn't even get the ultimate from Myrwn to try and set things up. But this time around, the ultimate from Myrwn just wasn't good enough to try and set up for those plays. MKOI chased too far, but it is still back in MKOI's favor. Even though this game looks close with the gold, you can see how difficult it is to actually find these fights as KC, and also the fact, as Nymaera was already saying, all these Ornn items coming through, you have so much just regular gold, or sorry, value that isn't reflected in the gold lead at the top of your screen.
Around 1,000 apiece. 3 on the board right now, 2 to go. And KOI, as Baron seems to be the objective with Dragon far off, hovering around the pit. We got Soul Point for them as well. And we said KC playing with such a dangerous composition. We have seen where it's taken them in this game. We see that KOI are the ones in the driver's seat. But as we know with this series, there have been so many comebacks. It's only defined by one fight.
And, you know, we're not at the point where Soul has been taken just yet. Baron is there as well. We are still at a point where a misstep from MKOI could be a problem.
Ulti. There's a Realm Warp again, but Jojo doesn't get out. He did before, but not again. Flashes the match. Canna, the TP's there, but he's out of queue for now. No! Gets out of the curtain call. That won't be all.
Is that Jojo or Soaz? That is so clutch from him.
What can you do as KC from this position, though? Canna will continue to push on towards his bottom side, but while it's nice to get the TP from Jojo, they're not really in a position to try and contest with the Baron. So now it looks like it'll have to be Myrwn who moves down to this bottom side to try and open up, as Canna has already shoved in. But if that's going to be the case, are MKOI actually giving that opportunity for KC to find the pick and the play that they need?
It's actually kind of awkward. The Canna uses the flash there too. A flash Aatrox Q3 onto the Ryze, onto the Tristana could be what they need. Baron Star now coming up. What can Vladi do with his bubbles?
He's backbot. He's going to be spotted out shortly from KOI. 4 members in front of the Baron make that 5. They're all there. They are all there. Myrwn is the only one with TP.
He has
a flip for the Baron going into the pit. The 50-50 in game 5 stunned up. Elyoya makes him his boy with the Sleepy Trouble on the back, and Canna trying to race to the game. Then MKOI have the Baron. They have enhanced recalls. He can only get himself one as Elyoya jumps in again, but in a choke. It's too dangerous. He misses the ult. Elyoya missed the ulti. Almost ranged out by Vladi as well. KOI get the Baron on all 5 as teleport top after having a numbers advantage.
Jojo is chasing Canna out of the base, so then he can't try and go for it. MKOI want to try and make sure they can crack open the base as soon as possible with this Baron. That was as messy as it nearly could have been, but MKOI come out with the win.
And MKOI are now in a very commanding strategic point. Reminder, KC chose MKOI as their opponent for this series. They are current reigning champion. They are our #1 seed in the playoffs. And they are now down 3k gold, arguably outscaled, up against a soul point from MKOI in Game 5 of the series.
The TP in. KC looking to see if they can find those picks that they need. Now having control over this area makes it a little bit easier, but Jojo clearing it that wave on bot. No one to try and contest that and keep that pressure up. Canna isn't in that top side either. It's KC looking to fish for bubbles, looking to fish for the damage as the tank line from MKOI trudges forward ever slowly.
Vladi not hitting any of these paddle stars at all. The KOI coaching staff a little bit stressed, as you can imagine. It comes down to the wire. Canna might have been found out. He wanted to pick an angle and had to run his way out. His flash not up and available. KC, all 5 members in front of the pit, but we know that KOI's front to back is more than truly online. Vladi poke, not there.
The fight loss here could be loss of the series as well. Waves on bot, wave on top for MKOI. This could be the decider.
It's a front to back as it stands. No one looking for a cheeky flank. Where are these bubbles going? Where are the hooks going? So important for KC to get some poke.
Control bubble onto Jojo. Deadly Florrick to follow up as well, but Vladi's blocked into Jojo. Damage finally hits, but it's the Ocean Drake going down. It goes down to KC. Crucially, they keep the game alive for a little bit longer.
How often has Yike managed these miracle steals in clutch situations to keep his teams in it? But Targamas
Jojo
has to flash
forward.
away.
Canna's in the bush, not spotted out. Targamas gets out, as you said. Flash was burned while the inside tracker mid is there. But look at base. They have to go back. KOI have Baron enhanced recalls, but the work that Canna did is at least adding some pressure.
That pick was huge. That play was huge, though. Yike denies Soul. You get the push and boss. Sure, you lose the mid lane tower, but you're keeping yourselves within arm's reach. A Ocean Soul for the poke from Vladi, the poke from Caliste would have just nullified so much of what KC could have attempted to bring this game back from the brink. But now
flanking back Caliste. It's an immobile Jhin. The follow-up there, this time hitting the ulti, but Caliste takes one dive. Supa gets the kill finally, sets it up, and KOI with our Yaya. He does it again.
MKOI might have just found the picks which could finally break the series.
Yike wants a flank of his own, but you ain't him this time. Jojo gets in the realm warp, takes himself in front of Vladi, who heals, but he's rune present up. And Vladi picks an interesting pick, but he won't get away with it.
MKOI, 3rd seed versus 1st, looking to take down KC. Targamas trying to interrupt the wave, but all they need is one. All they need is the creeps that are barreling down the mid lane to take down KC.
There's 2 minions. There's Yike with a flash. He needs to get in the way, but KC will forever regret as Yike goes into Cyclone, but dead in an instant with a Nexus turret to go. The 1st seed chose it. They wanted the Spaniards, but forever they will regret the day that they crossed the mighty MKOI.
A 5-game banger in our new rivalry here in the LEC. And Movistar KOI, despite being the lowest seed, make it their own in such an important series.